Hello everybody, welcome into another lesson. So today we are going to talk about multiplying and dividing rational expressions. And for a lot of us this is going to seem like a review from Algebra 1, but this is very necessary because as we get further into the course and into pre-calc and so on, this is going to come up all the time. So let's go ahead here and get started with our first example. So we're multiplying two rational expressions. We have 4xy to the third divided by x squared y, all that times y over 8x. Well, it's easiest when you look for what you can cancel out. So let's look for the constant terms. You have 4 and 8. So 4 divides evenly into 8, so the 4 will be gone. That'll turn into 1. The 8 will turn into 2. Then between numerator and denominator, the y's will cancel out. And then also between numerator and denominator, x's will cancel out. So what you would literally be left with is y to the third divided by 2x squared. And that would be the best you could do to simplify this. You would end up with y to the third divided by 2x squared. Let me get an eraser, huh? I cleaned the board and I just forgot to put out a new eraser. Oh well. Alright. Now, let's see here. So the next one, we have x minus 3 divided by 2x minus 8, all that times, let's see, 6x squared minus 96 divided by x squared minus 9. Alright, so we have x minus 3 over 2x minus 8 times 6x squared minus 96 over x squared minus 9. Well, in these situations, you definitely want to factor everything. So factor everything completely to start with. The goal of factoring is to see what you can cancel out. So for the left term, you would have x minus 3 over your denominator. Well, you have a common 2. This would turn into 2 times the quantity of x minus 4 times, now you have your second term. Well, 6x squared minus 96, that would turn into 6 times the quantity of x squared minus 16 divided by your denominator, the x squared minus 9 would turn into x plus 3 times the quantity of x minus 3. So we've almost factored completely, except when it comes to the second term in the numerator, we can factor the x squared minus 16 a bit further. So this would turn into x minus 3 over 2 times x minus 4 times, let's see, this would be 6 times the quantity of x plus 4 times the quantity of x minus 4. Now all that all over x plus 3 times the quantity of x minus 3. And from here, we're ready to proceed and see what we can cancel out. Your constant term, your coefficients, 6 and 2 divide evenly, so the 2 is gone. That turns into 1. That 6 will turn into a 3. Alright, between the numerator and denominator, the x minus 3's will cancel out. And then same with the x minus 4's. The x minus 4's will cancel out. So what you should literally be left with is 3 times the quantity of x plus 4 over x plus 3. And that would be the best we could do to simplify this. You would get 3 times the quantity of x plus 4 over x plus 3. next one. We have 2x squared minus 2 divided by x squared minus 6x minus 7 times the quantity of x squared minus 10x plus 21. Alright, so we have 2x squared minus 2 over x squared minus 6x minus 7, all that times x squared minus 10x plus 21. Well, one thing to note, we don't have a denominator on the second term, which means we have a default denominator of 1. So if you want to put that guiding 1 there to help you, that just might help you out. Now, of course, the next thing we want to do is factor everything. That would be our very next thing we should do. So on the first term, 2x squared minus 2 would factor into 2 times the quantity of x squared minus 1 all over your denominator. So x squared minus 6x minus 7, that should factor into x minus 7 times the quantity of x plus 1. So yes, that would in fact give you what you need. And then factor in your second term. This should factor into the quantity of x minus 3 times the quantity of x minus 7 all over 1. Now that x squared minus 1 in the first term can factor even further. This would factor into 2 times the quantity of x plus 1 times x minus 1 all over x minus 7 times x plus 1. And then you would have your second term, which would be x minus 3 times x minus 7, all that divided by a 1. Now let's look for what we can cancel out between numerator and denominator. Well, the x plus 1s will definitely cancel out. So will the x minus 7s, effectively killing off the denominator. So this would simplify into 2 times the quantity of x minus 1 times the quantity of x minus 3. That's what this would simplify into. And if you care to, or if your teacher really is big on you expanding this out and getting a quadratic result, you can just FOIL these two binomials and then distribute the 2. But we're going to leave it factored. 2 times the quantity of x minus 1 times x minus 3. That would be the best way to write this. All right. We have x to the third plus 5x squared minus x minus 5, all that divided by x squared minus 25 times x plus 1. Alright, well, one thing that's going to help us, since the second term of this does not have a denominator, just put a default denominator of 1. That'll be your guiding 1. Now, again, let's factor everything completely. So, your numerator, that's going to factor by grouping. So this could factor into x squared times x plus 5, then minus that x plus 5. All over your denominator, which factors into the quantity of x plus 5 times x minus 5. Then you just have that times x plus 1 over 1 for the next term. Well, in the numerator, this will factor further into x plus 5 times the quantity of x squared minus 1 all over x plus 5 times x minus 5, then times x plus 1 over 1. While that x squared minus 1 will factor even further, this will factor into the quantity of x plus 5 times x plus 1 times x minus 1 all over x plus 5 times x minus 5, then times x plus 1 over 1. Okay, we factored completely. Now we're ready to start canceling out. Well, between numerator and denominator, the x plus 5s will cancel out, and really we've canceled all we could. So the simplest way to write this would be x plus 1, that quantity to the second power, times x minus 1 all over x minus 5. And that would be the best we could do to simplify this. This will turn into x plus 1 squared times x minus 1 over x minus 5. I got one more for multiplication, then we'll move on to division. Alright, so we got x minus 3 divided by negative x to the third plus 3x squared, all that times x squared plus 2x plus 1. Alright, so we have x minus 3 divided by negative x to the third plus 3x squared, all that times x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay, well, the best thing you can do at this point is put a denominator of 1 for the second term. Put your guiding 1 there. Now the next thing we need to do is factor. So the numerator stays x minus 3 on the first term, but in the second term you can factor out a negative x squared, and what do you know? You would end up getting x minus 3 for the other term, and then the numerator of the second term would factor into x plus 1 squared divided by 1. And at this point, we've already factored completely. So we can cancel things out. So between the numerator and denominator, the x minus 3's will cancel. So you're literally left with negative of the quantity of x plus 1 squared divided by x squared. And that's the best we could do to simplify this. This would turn into negative of the quantity of x plus 1 squared over x squared. Alright, so now let's move on to dividing rational expressions. So, we have 32 x to the third y over y to the ninth divided by 8x to the fourth over y to the sixth. Okay, well, when we divide fractions, who remembers what we do? When you divide fractions, your second term, you're going to invert and multiply. So whenever you have a fraction divided by a fraction, you invert and multiply the second term. So this would really turn into 32x to the third y over y to the ninth times inverting the second fraction, y to the sixth over 8x to the fourth. Alright, well, the 32 and 8 cancel out evenly, so 8 would turn into 1, and then 32 would turn into 4. Now, x to the third and x to the fourth, the x to the third will be gone. This will just turn into x to the first. Alright, so y times y to the sixth is what? Y to the seventh. You have a y to the ninth in the denominator, so really both of these will go. This will turn into y to the second in the denominator. So what you should be left with is 4 divided by xy squared. This would just turn into 4 over xy squared by the time you do all the canceling out. So it looked like a doozy, but if you can remember, when you divide fractions, you just invert and multiply for your second term. All right. We have x squared minus 14x plus 48 over x squared minus 6x divided by 3x minus 24. Okay, so we have x squared minus 14x plus 48 over x squared minus 6x divided by 3x minus 24. Well, again, your second term has no denominator, so it has a default denominator of 1 then, for a guiding 1. Another thing to keep in mind is you're actually dividing the first fraction by a fraction, so that means this is going to turn into an invert and multiply situation. So this would become x squared minus 14x plus 48 over x squared minus 6x times, you invert the second fraction, 1 over 3x minus 24. So that's where that guiding 1 becomes important, when you invert and multiply. Okay, now that we've turned this into multiplication, we can factor this completely. So in the numerator of the first term, this would turn into x minus 6 times the quantity of x minus 8 over x times x minus 6 times that 1 over 3 times x minus 8. Alright, now we factor completely. Let's go ahead and look for what we can cancel out. We can definitely cancel out the x minus 8s. We can even cancel out x minus 6 between the numerator and denominator. So this will literally reduce to 1 over 3x. And that's what this turns into, 1 divided by 3x. I have about 3 more, then we'll be done with the lesson. All right. We have x squared plus 8x plus 16 over x plus 2 divided by x squared plus 6x plus 8 over x squared minus 4. Alright, so we have x squared plus 8x plus 16 over x plus 2, all that divided by x squared plus 6x plus 8 over x squared minus 4. So again, we're going to have to invert and multiply the second fraction. So this is going to turn into x squared plus 8x plus 16 over x plus 2 times that x squared minus 4 over x squared plus 6x plus 8. Now we need to factor everything completely. So in the numerator of the first term, this literally would turn into a binomial square of x plus 4 squared over still that x plus 2 times the numerator of your second term would turn into x plus 2 times the quantity of x minus 2 all over your denominator would become x plus 2 times x plus 4. Okay, we factor completely. Let's look for what we can cancel out. Well, x plus 2's are gone. What else? Well, and x plus 4 in the denominator will be gone. This will turn into x plus 4 to the first power. So literally what you should get would be the quantity of x plus 4 times the quantity of x minus 2 all over x plus 2. It would reduce down to that. X plus 4 times the quantity of x minus 2 over x plus 2. I got about 2 more. Then we'll be done with this lesson. All right. Let's see. X squared plus 6x minus 7 divided by 3x squared. All that divided by x plus 7 over 6x. This one's actually not going to be that bad. So we have x squared plus 6x minus 7 over 3x squared divided by x plus 7 over 6x. Well, since we're dividing the first fraction by the second fraction, this turns into an invert and multiply. So you'll have x squared plus 6x minus 7 over 3x squared. This would turn this into times 6x over x plus 7. All right, well, let's go ahead and factor everything completely. And the only thing we can really factor so far is in the numerator of the first term. This would turn into x plus 7 times x minus 1 all over 3x squared times the quantity of 6x over x plus 7. Well, I think it's obvious the x plus 7's will cancel out. 6 and 3 divide into each other evenly. So the 3 goes, that 6 will turn into 2. And then between numerator and denominator, the x will go. This x to the second will turn into x to the first. So what you should get in the end is 2 times x minus 1 divided by x. And that would be your answer. You get 2 times the quantity of x minus 1 divided by x. And I got one more. We have x squared plus 6x minus 27 divided by 3x squared plus 27x over x plus 5. Alright, so we have x squared plus 6x minus 27, all that divided by 3x squared plus 27x over x plus 5. Actually, I should probably put parentheses here so we know what we're referring to. Well, this time the first term has no denominator, so why don't we put our guiding 1 there for the denominator? Now that you have a fraction divided by a fraction, this will turn into inverting and multiplying the second fraction. So this will turn into x squared plus 6x minus 27 over 1 times x plus 5 over 3x squared plus 27x. Alright, now let's factor everything completely. So in the numerator of the first term, this would end up being x plus 9 times the quantity of x minus 3 all over 1, all that times x plus 5 over 3x times x plus 3. Well, let's see what we can cancel. And they kind of tricked us because there's really... Wait a minute. I did that wrong. I don't know why I was thinking cube. This should be 3x times x plus 9. No wonder I got it off. Alright, the x plus 9s will cancel out. And really, we've canceled everything we can. This would just turn into x minus 3 times the quantity of x plus 5 all over 3x. And that would be the best we can do to reduce this. So you get x minus 3 times the quantity of x plus 5 over 3x. So that's it for multiplying and dividing rational expressions. Next lesson we will do adding and subtracting rational expressions. So I hope everyone has a great day. Take care.